They say some people wear their stories on their skin. But when the Air Marshal saw her tattoo, his laughter stopped cold, and the entire hangar fell silent. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening. Captain Alina Hayes stood before the towering frame of the AH-64 Apache, the desert wind swirling dust around her boots. She'd waited 6 years for this moment to finally sit inside the cockpit of the machine that once defined her life. But across from her, Air Marshal Donovan leaned against a railing, arms crossed, smirking. "Fly the Apache?" he scoffed. "You? I read your file. You were grounded after Kandahar, weren't you?" The laughter from the young cadets nearby burned hotter than the sun above. Alina's jaw tightened. She'd learned to endure humiliation before, but this one dug deep. The hangar smelled of oil and iron, echoing with the clang of wrenches and distant chatter. Her heart drummed against her ribs, as if begging her to walk away. But Alina didn't move. She stepped closer instead, voice steady. "Permission to prove I still can, sir." Donovan chuckled, shaking his head. "Prove it? That's not how this works, Captain." He leaned closer. "Besides, your kind doesn't come back from what you came from." Her kind. He didn't know what that meant. Not really. But those words carried ghosts. For a moment, her breath caught. The world tilted, flashing back to the crash, the explosion, the flames, the radio silence, the screams of her co-pilot, Mason, fading into static. She'd walked away from that wreck with a fractured spine and a promise she couldn't keep, that she'd never fly again. But she had rebuilt herself, bone, nerve, and soul. Every scar on her back was a signature of defiance. And the tattoo on her neck, a small black falcon, carried the emblem of the 19th Airborne Rescue Unit. The one that had gone dark after saving dozens, during a night mission no one ever spoke of again. "Dismissed," Donovan ordered, turning his back. That was his mistake. Alina pulled her collar slightly to wipe the sweat from her neck, and that's when he saw it. The ink, the falcon, the Air Marshal froze mid-step. The color drained from his face. He turned slowly, his voice quieter now, almost reverent. "Where did you get that tattoo?" Alina looked up, surprised. "It's mine, sir. Earned it in 2012. Operation Silent Reach." The room seemed to stop breathing. One of the engineers dropped a wrench, the metallic echo slicing through the silence. Donovan stared at her, disbelief morphing into something raw, grief. "That unit. They said everyone was gone. My brother was part of that rescue team." The cadets exchanged glances. No one dared speak. Alina took a slow breath, her voice trembling. "Your brother, Sergeant Miles Donovan. He didn't make it out of the valley, but he saved 12 of us before the ridge collapsed. I was one of them." The Air Marshal's eyes glistened, his body stiff as if holding back years of buried pain. He stepped closer. "You were the last evac pilot, weren't you?" She nodded. "Until my bird went down." A long silence hung between them, heavy, sacred. Then Donovan whispered, "My God." I laughed at her. The next morning, the entire base gathered outside the hangar. For the first time in years, Captain Hayes walked toward the Apache in full flight gear, the sunrise spilling gold across the tarmac. Air Marshal Donovan stood beside her, this time not with mockery, but with respect. He handed her a pair of flight gloves, the old kind, leather, worn at the fingertips. "My brother's," he said softly. "He would have wanted you to have them." Her eyes welled. The gloves fit perfectly. The rotors began to turn. The ground trembled. The cadets watched as the woman they once mocked rose into the sky, the desert wind chasing her shadow. She circled once, graceful, commanding. And as she dipped the nose of the Apache toward the crowd, sunlight glinted off the falcon tattoo, like a silent salute. Because courage doesn't fade. It just waits for the right moment to rise again. And sometimes the ink on our skin tells the stories the world tried to erase. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and tell me in the comments what act of quiet courage still inspires you today. And remember, you're watching Relieved Stories, where every scar has a story worth hearing.